So, you want to know how to get this spooky, sultry look? Well, you're in the right place. I've been having so much fun doing themed makeup tutorials lately, and as Halloween creeps closer, I thought to myself, who is the Queen of Halloween? Who else but Morticia Addams? She's dark, she's elegant, and just a bit deadly. The perfect inspiration. So, if you want to bring out your inner Morticia, keep on watching, and I'll show you how to transform into this iconic look. Trust me, it's to die for. Hello, so I already started by prepping my base. I went in with the Dr. Tarte Pro Tiger Grass Color Corrector just to kind of cancel out some redness because this look is very pale and very light, so I wanted to kind of get the maximum coverage that I can with this look. So I'm not going to straighten my hair for this look. I feel like if you have the makeup and the look down, you don't need straight hair to channel Morticia. For foundation, I feel like she has a very matte look with some inner glow coming through, so I'm going with a matte foundation. I have the Maybelline Fit Me foundation, and the shade I have is 112 Natural Ivory. I feel like this is a pretty good shade match for me, but I am going to add just a little bit of a white foundation mix-in just to get it a little paler. I'm going to put some just on a little mixing plate along with the white mix-in, the color I'm working with now, and that's with the mix-in. So I'm going to kind of work my brush into it and then stipple it on my face. And I feel like for your base makeup, you really want pale, but don't go too light, especially if you have darker skin. I think the main part of what you want to achieve is having it very cool toned. And I'm just going to blend that in. And with foundation, I always like to work in thin layers. You can always go back and build up the coverage. And it might look like I'm going in with really thick layers, but it's just because it is so white on me that it looks like a very stark contrast. You can always work it down to blend to your neck. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is the inspiration photo I'm using. Next, I'm going to kind of shape my brows. She has very thin, like arched 90s brows, so I'm gonna do my best to try and achieve that. I refuse to pluck my brows for any look, so I do think you can kind of just achieve it by doing this pinching motion and just brushing them upward. Okay, I'm pretty impressed with how much I was able to do with just the pinching motion, so we'll do the same on the other side. Morticia does have very thin brows, but they're still quite defined, so I'm just going to go in with the NYX Micro Brow Pencil, find the closest shade that matches your hair, and mine is in brunette. And I'm just going to kind of define these little areas that aren't as full as the rest of my brows. So while there is no blush whatsoever on this look, Morticia is quite snatched. So I'm going to be using the e.l.f. contour palette, and I'm kind of going to be leaning more towards the cool tone shades in here. Definitely want to use this one with a bit of this just because it's a bit darker and will kind of allow me to not use as many layers. So you're going to kind of shape your cheekbones. I'm going to start kind of right here, right a little above my earlobe, go out a little and then downwards to kind of create the look that she has. And I'm going to stamp it in to create my shape and then blend out. So I'm going to go back in with the foundation brush I was using to blend this out. That way I feel like it ends up not being as muddy and you have a bit more control as well as a little coverage. I'm pretty happy. You can already see a little bit of that shaping, but I am going to go in with that darker shade just to add a little more depth into the look. I'm pretty happy with how this is looking, and it does look a little dark right away, but we're going to use some powder to kind of help really define where that shadow is supposed to be, and then the rest will be pale. So for powder, I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Finishing Powder, and I have the shade Fair or 1. And I'm just going to use a little triangle puff and go in where I want the most matte look, as well as kind of carve out that cheekbone. On to the most exciting part, we are going to do our eyes. So to start, I'm going to use the Urban Decay Potion Primer, and I did already use a bit of foundation, just what was left on my brush over my eyelid, but if you do think you need more coverage, you can definitely use some concealer. So she has a bit of a smoky eye, but it's just really this black and this kind of silver shade. So I'm going to start by kind of putting a white base on the lid. We want to keep it very bright and white. So I'm going to be using my NYX Ultimate palette, and I'm going to go in for like this white shade and this one. This one is more of like what you would use to highlight your brow bone, but I don't want it to be just stark white on the lid. I do want it looking more natural, but we just want to keep it bright. I'm mixing the two with my brush, and we're going to go in and just keep it on the lid. It's going to be very subtle, you know, it looks very close to my skin, very subtle, not much glitter, we just want it bright. And I'm just going to work on more of the inner side of my eye because this smoky part is going to be on this side, so it doesn't really matter if we have this shade there. Next up, I'm using the Huda Beauty Pretty Grunge palette, and I'm going to dip in this shade Renegade, which is just a powder black, so really whatever powder black you have on hand. And I'm going to be using kind of this like pencil brush, and you're going to need to be careful with this. So I'm going to kind of stamp it as close as I can to my lash line and really just kind of stamp the shape I want. And then I'm going to use a different brush to blend. So now I'm just going to go in with a brush that has nothing on it to just kind of help blend everything. So I'm going to go back in with that brush that had the black on it, and you're going to get something to scrub most of it off. And that is how we're going to go in to create the rest of the look. You don't want it as dark as here, but we do want to create kind of that shadow. And you might need to dip back in and then scrub it off. That is what I'm doing for this eye. If you find like how on this eye I did it a little too hard, just go back in with your blending brush and blend it out. So this next shade, I'm going in with a small but fluffy brush, and I'm going to go into Strong AF, which is kind of this mixture of the silver and gray. And it's a bit glittery, but I think it will be fine for this look. And you're going to go over that arch that you made. So to kind of clean up this area, just so it's very shaped, I'm going to go in with a really fluffy brush and back into that white shade just to help blend everything together. And then I'm going to use that same shade just to really help define that lid again where we kept white. You know, you're going to have some shadow kind of fall down, so we're just going to help kind of redefine that shape. Next, I'm going to tightline my lashes, and you can either use just a regular eyeliner, but I really like the cream shade in the Huda Beauty palette, Grunge. It's just a cream black, and I find it so easy to be able to put on and just kind of stamp it in, so that's what I'm going to do. So I don't have any fake eyelashes, so I'm just going to throw on a black mascara, and the one I'm using is the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes. But I do think like a half lash that kind of wings out would be gorgeous for this look. Lastly, we cannot forget her iconic red lip. So for my lip liner, I'm going to be using Uoma. I believe the shade is Frost. There's kind of like this really deep maroon shade. She does have a very bright lip. So for the lip, I'm going to be using MAC Ruby Woo, and it is just such an iconic red. So I just want this more to like define my shape. And there you have it, the iconic Morticia Addams look. I love how this came out. It is so sultry and dark. It is perfect. I love it so much, especially paired with just the bright lip. I don't know, it is very beautiful and I love it so much. Let me know what you think of it in the comments, and I hope you have a spooky Halloween. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!